Hi. Hey y'all. Real quick, I'm about to try to go live on YouTube. So while y'all getting on here, it's my birthday. It's my birthday. So I'm trying to get my subscribers up for my birthday. That's all I want for my birthday is for you guys to subscribe to my YouTube page. It's Delores, the pastor's daughter. That's Delores, the pastor's daughter on YouTube. So I was like, if I could get 41 subscribers, since it's my 41st birthday, that's goals right there, y'all. Look at my balloons. My son's got me the balloons, y'all. Hey, when y'all come in, give me a thumbs up. Tell me happy birthday. It's my birthday. What y'all doing tonight? I'm having a good time. I went and got my makeup done by Sabrina Simmons, in case y'all need to look her up. She does an amazing job on makeup, eyebrows, and lashes, and all that good stuff. And so I had her do me up something today so I could look presentable for y'all. Hmm y'all know I act extra when it's my birthday. So what y'all doing? Thank you. Thank you, Rolanda. Thank you. I'm 41 today. Uh-oh. That's not what I meant to do. What did I tell y'all I was doing? See, just that quick. I forgot what I was trying to do. So I was thinking today, since it's my birthday, right, that we would have some juicy conversations. Y'all could get to know me better. And so what I did was, thank you, Jarrell. Thank you, George. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So what I did was I got these questions. It's going to really get the conversation going. So far for my birthday, well, not so far, like today's my birthday. It's like nearly over. But so for my birthday, of course, my husband was just amazing. And y'all, he gives the most thoughtful and like the best gifts ever. My husband is a very good gift giver. He just is, he's amazing. So he got me this portal that I'm on right now. So like, look, you guys, like it moves and everything. Like, look at this. Hold on. You see how like when you try to show off something, then it starts to act up on you. You see it move, you guys? Like, I think that is so cool. So it allows me like sit here and like I can do my work. So like this is my workstation. One day I'm gonna show you guys my workstation where I get all my writing done and all my studies for the book right here in my she shed. So one day I'll show you guys the rest of it, but we'll see. We'll see when that happens. Thank you. Thank you, Renee. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Ray. I appreciate that, you guys. So, okay. So, my husband got me this portal thing, and I'm going to show you guys a picture of it because here's the box right here. This is it. Isn't this neat? And so, like, I can go live just like right here at my desk, or I can, move it to other places in the house that I, want to go live. And so I'm, in case Facebook wants to sponsor me, I think I'd be a great spokesperson for the portal. Don't y'all agree? Yeah, put in a good word for me with Facebook. Put in a good word for your girl. Thank you, Shamika. Thank you. And thank you for coming out to see me. You guys who came out to my party, I had a wonderful time. Wonderful time. And it was really wonderful because of the people that were there. With so much love. And Sam and Keisha, thank you guys for the love you showed me at the venue and just making sure that we were taken care of and my guests were taken care of. Thank you, Roderick. Thank you so much. We had a great time. The only thing I wish is that DJ have played a little more Afro beats, because that I really love Afro beats. And so, you know, it's not really like all that, people don't really listen to it that much out in the clubs here in this city, but we're trying to expand a little bit, and kind of jam to some different types of music. Thank you, Charlotte. Thank you, Tina. Tina, you gonna get a whooping. You gonna get a whooping, honey. Cause like I was looking for you all night. What happened? What happened? So this whole time I'm trying to go. Y'all know I cannot focus on two things at once. Not like this. It's like it. I already be feeling so much pressure when I go live, but then when I try to do other stuff at the same time, I start losing my train of thought. So hey, guess what, y'all? Okay, so like I got some cake from Smear Kid Tea Cakes. And I just like I look, okay, it's on a paper plate, and look, I already had a piece, but don't judge me, okay? Because I had a piece with my family, now I want to have a piece with y'all. This is her celebration pound cake, and y'all, it is so good, so moist. Oh my God. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Tamika. Mm. It's a celebration pound cake. This is the sweet I'm wanting for my birthday. It's like I have to have a birthday cake, a, a tea cake birthday cake, not just any birthday cake. You say you older, you had to work. Aw, I missed you. We're gonna do it again. We'll definitely have to do it again. I miss seeing everybody, because we haven't been going out lately for obvious reasons, and so I miss y'all too. So I figured since it was my birthday, I was gonna tell y'all a little bit more about myself. Maybe it's some like deeper stuff that you guys might want to know. So, my name is Delores. Okay, we'll start with the basics. I'm 41 today, which is August 9th. I was born in 1980. And let's see, I have four brothers. I am actually the fourth of five. Um, so my mom, my parents, they kept trying to have a little girl, and so they had me, and my mom actually got her tubes tied after me, and then my brother came, which is our blessing. My little brother is such a blessing. But so that's me. I have two kids, two sons. Their names are Richard and Devontae, and I have an amazing husband. His name is Philip. But I want to get into some deep stuff, right? So y'all get to know the basics about me. But this is one thing, like some people used to say about me, is that they thought that I was stuck up or mean, when they met me. And I think back then I used to think, well, why? What would give someone that, impression of me? And I would really try hard to, just be more approachable, and to, just like try to have a smile on my face, because, there's that resting face, that resting bee face, that people have that ends up making them look mean, but, they don't intend to be that way. So I used to try to like, figure out like why do people think that, And I think, as I'm older now, I think they were right. I think I was stuck up and mean. I think that that's the impression that I gave off. So I think they were right about that. But now that I'm older, I have such a greater understanding of where that came from, And I know a lot of people have like their defense mechanisms, and they just have their way of being that, makes them feel safe moving about in the world. And I think that that was mine, you know. But now that, I'm older and, I have that insight, I want to present differently, I don't want people to feel like they can't approach me or that I'm stuck up or that I'm mean, you know. I mean, some people need to know that, but you guys don't. And so I was thinking, well, why not just answer some questions and, let people kind of get to know me better and, and kind of see who I am a little bit. And to be honest with you, I'm learning a lot about myself as I'm speaking about it, and certainly as I've been writing. I've learned so much about myself. Um, and so, maybe even answering these questions will help me to get to know myself even better while, I'm allowing you guys to get to know me better. Um, I think that'll be interesting. So I think these type of questions they're better when you don't really look at them, when you don't, have time to like study them and, figure out a really good answer. I mean, because truthfully, I could have done that, right? Like, look at the questions and try to figure out like a really good, clean answer for you guys. But sometimes it's just better when, it's fresh and you get a nice, raw, authentic answer. And so all I did was like skim them, skim through the questions to see if they would be good questions, if they were like deep enough. And I think they'll be good. So we'll see. And then you guys are free to ask me whatever you want to. Thank you, Bonita. Thank you, Rodriguez. Thank you, Regina. Thank you, Felicia. Thank you for coming to Saturday. I really enjoyed you. Thank you, Sophia. I appreciate you guys. Y'all are so sweet. Okay, hold on. So I'm gonna turn this light down because I don't like the bright lights. Okay. Is that okay? Can y'all still see me good? Okay, good deal. Okay, so the first question is, what are you most proud of? Okay, hold on. Let me tell you this first. Okay, these are 25 questions to get to know someone deeply. And it comes from BetterHelp. It was an article by Stephanie Kirby um, from December of 2020. So BetterHelp, that's from what I know, a really good company for counseling services. So, hey, it better help if y'all want to sponsor me too. Just let your girl know. Um, yeah, I'm a certified counselor. I got you. Thank you. Thank y'all. Okay, so this question is, what are you most proud of? Ooh, you know what? I have to say my kids. I would have to say my kids. And especially like coming from the things that I experienced, as a child, I just feel like my kids are like my greatest accomplishment. I mean, like, I actually birthed them, I actually carried them in my stomach and nurtured them, you know, and until they grew strong enough to, you know, survive the world, and they were born healthy and they are still healthy, still thriving. And I believe that I am being a good mother to them, you know. So I don't know. I feel like they are like my greatest accomplishment and like my first ministry. I mean, you guys know how I feel about, all of this stuff dealing with pastors these days because I've been very vocal about it. But I believe that your family, the family that you create, is your first ministry. That is like that's your fruit. That is your testimony. That is I mean, that's like, to me, that's God's gift to a person um is their child, That's just how I feel about that. So thank you, Ernest. Thank you, Marcus. Thank you, Latoya. I miss you. I was talking about you the other day. It's good. Thank you so much. Good to hear from you. What are you most ashamed of? Oh my gosh. That that's a serious question. Would y'all find that question hard to answer? I don't know. I would, okay. If I would, okay, so my answer is I think I am most ashamed of my marriages. Um, I'm ashamed of how many I've had. I'm ashamed of like the reasons I got married before, and I'm ashamed of not being healthy. Not being healthy and not being ready to be someone's wife, you know? And I'm ashamed of just everything that was surrounding like my earliest decisions when it came to relationships. Um, they were um, ill-advised, misinformed. Um, they were just wrong, it was just wrong on so many levels. And I just wasn't, you know, healthy, to be able to make the right decision when it came to relationships. So I think I'm ashamed of my marriages. I think, the one thing that people look like if when once people know. I know a lot of people are just now finding this out, but once people know like how many times I've been married, I think it's a bit of a like a little bit of a shock, and especially because I'm only 41 today, so it's like, when did all that happen? When were you able to to do all that? So I guess when you really think about it, life has been um a bit different for me. Like it seems like my time frame of things are a little bit distorted, just because of the trauma that I experienced. And so these different marriages were like, it seemed like they were all different lives, almost. They were all just different people um, that experienced that. And not that I have like any type of multiple personalities or dissociative identity disorder or anything like that, but it's just not really knowing myself in those relationships and knowing who I was at that time that made me present as someone who wasn't authentic and someone who wasn't healthy and ready for those relationships. So that's what I'm most ashamed of there. So thank you, April. Hey, Kelly. I feel like people view me as a mean person because of the facial expressions. Yes, I may have at times, which I get from my dad, so I can definitely relate. Um, I'm not stuck up at all, though. I'm genuinely a great person to be around. So are you. And I hope you enjoyed your born day so far. Thank you so much, Kelly. I appreciate that. You are a very pleasant person to be around. Um, Thank you, Ernest. He says, you don't have to be ashamed of that. We all need time to grow. Yeah, yeah. And that's exactly what it was. And I just really thank God now for allowing me to heal from those decisions that I made, in those relationships, and that that I've learned so much from them, and I can take those lessons learned and use them to better my decisions in my relationship now. So like, I have an amazing husband now, and he's my forever husband. And I'm just really, really grateful that God was able to show me those shortcomings, and those, just he was really able to like nurture me and help me to grow and put other people in my life, other men in my life, even my brothers who were able to be who were able to kind of help me and help me see the things that I wasn't seeing as far as relationships are concerned. Okay, so the next question is, if you could go back and change one decision in your life, what would it be? So like, that's the same thing. That's the same. I would say it's the same thing. That's what I'm most ashamed of. But I would never say that I would go back and change it. In fact, I can't even really say that I would go back and change anything, because I don't live my life in regrets. I don't even really regret anything that I've experienced with my father, because like, that has um, it has shaped me into who I am today. And though I don't give him credit for making things hard, um, I do give God credit for allowing me to learn what I needed to learn, so that I can make better decisions moving forward. But I don't I can't honestly answer that question because I wouldn't change anything. I did what I did. I made the decisions I made based on information and the experience and knowledge I had at the time. And so, it is what it is. So, okay, the next question is, and y'all can ask me questions too. You can ask me anything you like. It doesn't even have to be about like, well, just you decide. Okay, so this question is, what is your biggest dream in life? Okay, so at this stage in my life, I am working on a book, which I know most of you know about by now. So my dream is to publish that book and for that book to impact millions of lives, millions of souls. I believe that my story is a story that will help a lot of people, and it already has. I have already seen a lot of changes in people's lives, and so I'm just really hoping that I can continue to do that, starting with myself and my family and my home, and then branching out because, like I said, my family is my first ministry. They're my first priority. They're my biggest accomplishment. They are my gift from God. And so that's how I look at it. Like if I have to sacrifice my family to help anyone outside my home, I think I've fallen short. I've majorly fallen short. And so my goal is to first impact those around me, myself and those around me, and then expand from there. And I firmly believe that, God will really multiply the impact of this book. And so that's my dream right now, is that other people are blessed by this, by my experiences, by my, hardship, by the tears that I've cried, I want someone to benefit from them. Thank you, Tina. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. So that's that. How y'all doing so far? Y'all all right? Give me a thumbs up, y'all. Have y'all subscribed to my YouTube page? It's Delores, the pastor's daughter on YouTube. So let me answer this question. Um, what difference would it make in your life if you felt completely safe, accepted, and loved? Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Hmm. What difference would it make in your life if you felt completely safe, accepted, and loved? Ooh. Ooh, y'all. Man. And to have, to think about that question now, in the midst of everything that's going on. I had I did this post a couple weeks ago where I said I don't want to fit in. I want to belong. And I think about what difference would it make in your life if you felt completely safe, accepted, and loved. Like how do you answer that in a world like this? How do I answer that? And especially with my worldview. I've never felt completely safe, accepted, and loved. I don't even know what that would look like. or I don't know what that would look like. And I really don't know what difference it would make. Hmm. What about y'all? What difference would it make in your life if you felt completely safe, accepted, and loved? I mean, I could say that I feel completely safe and accepted and loved by certain people, but just an overall completely safe, accepted, and loved, no. But I know from certain people, like for instance, my husband, I feel completely safe, accepted, and loved by him. I feel completely safe, accepted, and loved by my mother. You know, it's like it's certain people, but oof, let's move on. Because I don't even know, in a world like this, what that would look like. But I can say this though, in light of everything that I've been talking about, as far as like, let's say like my distant family, and in relation to like this book, and thank you, Glenda. Thank you so much. In relation to this book and how my family, my extended family, has received it. Um, like I think that's where like my thought process was going when I said, when I did the post about fitting in and belonging, you know, because what I was realizing that is that fitting in, and I think this also feeds back into my issues with thinking about denouncing Christianity, because it seems like to fit in means that you have to be who you aren't called to be, who you aren't created to be. And it seems like to fit in, is what gives you like that false sense of safety, a false sense of acceptance, and a false sense of love. But when I think about belonging, that's like that belonging is where it's like you have a sense that you don't even have to be different. You don't have to change who you are. When you belong, it's almost like, where have you been? We've been waiting for you. Like, come on, like you this is where you belong. This is you. And I just don't feel that way, in relation to like everything that's been going on with my father and like distant family, and trying to reveal these things. And really, I don't even feel safe and accepted and loved. Like, I've never felt that from him, from my father, you know? But like, it's to me now is it's where like I'm focusing on, like those people who um basically who don't make me feel safe, accepted, and loved. Like I talk about them, I address them, but I know like who to focus on. I know like, and that's one thing that you all have to remember too, is that sometimes it's really easy to focus on like the negativity and what people aren't doing and how they aren't supporting you, to the point where you overlook the people who are, and you don't realize that people are standing around you, and they're like, hey, you keep complaining about the people who aren't supporting you, and here we are, and we have your back, and you haven't acknowledged us. And so, I never want to neglect the people who do, provide that, or who create that atmosphere. But anyway, so let's move on. Thank you guys, thank you all for your support. So, okay. So, do you think your parents did oh God. See, maybe I should have read these questions before. Oh my gosh. Okay. Let me finish reading it. Do you think your parents did a good job raising you while you were growing up? Why or why not? Oh my God. Thank you, Sherry. Thank you, Keisha. Keisha did her thing on Saturday. Thank you so much. Best bartender ever. So, do you think your parents did a good job raising you while you were growing up? Why or why not? Do I really have to answer this question? You know what? Okay. So here's the thing. So I'm gonna just talk about my father just briefly, but I want to focus this question on my mom. So, if we've already been talking about my father a good bit, and we're gonna get into it some more. But if my parents did a good job of raising me, okay, so here's what I have to say about the negative things that I experienced, like let's say from my father and from my mother, as a matter of fact. But like from my father, I experienced someone who was really like only supportive and only loving and nurturing, or he only really did what was in his best interest. So if he did something that maybe a father should do, you know you'd have to look at it like, okay, what is his motive here? What is the point of this? So I feel like some of the things that he did growing up weren't necessarily harmful, but his intention behind them was. And so if he did a good job at raising me, I really felt that, my father has a past life of pimping women. And I think that um, he kind of approached being a father that way as well. There was like some pimp elements to it, and not, in a traditional sense of how you would think of a pimp, but in the exploitative sense, in the manipulative sense. So it was like, he might have done something good, but it's like, okay, wait. Okay, what's behind this? Like, what's the cost? What am I gonna have to pay for this? I'm gonna be indebted to him for something later on. And it's probably gonna be something I don't want to do, or, something like that. So that's what I had to contend with that. And I feel like you shouldn't really have to give a person credit for giving you a hard life, like providing a hard life for you, like let's say your parents were hard, and then like people will say, well, it made me who I am today. Well, yeah, but they don't they don't deserve credit for that. Like, I don't give my father credit for making things hard for me, and I persevered anyway. That I pushed through, and yeah, okay, so it made me stronger, so they say, you know. But then I think about, okay, well, how strong would I have been had I had a supportive and a loving and a protecting father, and someone who really truly loved me. How much stronger would I be then? And we have to get out of that mindset where we feel like the struggle is what makes things so much greater. Like this, like, especially when it's a struggle that's not, like an external struggle. You know what I'm saying? Like in a marriage, for instance, right? You go through things in a marriage, but the person who you're married to should not be like the one causing all of this stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, you already have so many forces from outside of the home, so to speak, outside of your relationship, that do you really need to be with someone who is making it hard too? You know? And then in the end, you have to give them credit because they made it so difficult for you? No. Like, I don't believe that is the way things should be. I believe that, okay, well, yeah, there was some good things growing up, and I learned some good things growing up, but it was a lot of bull crap too. And, we're just going to have to call the bull crap for what it is, and, and just call a thing a thing. And so that's how I feel about it. So, and then, we get to um, my mother, and how she was raising me. And I think it was like as at times it was a bit of an extreme between the two of them. Thank you, Melissa. I appreciate that so much. It was a bit of a like an extreme between the two of them. Like here my father was on this extreme like worldly side, and then here my mom was on this extreme Christian side, church side, you know? And so even though my father was in the church, it was still so much about him that was so much like it was street, you know, it was like it was rough, it was gangster, it was, you know, it was those things. And so like I had kind of like a bit of extremes when it comes to them, you know? But it was like it was somehow my mother's extreme faith is what kind of counteracted my father's extreme whatever it was. And so I don't necessarily feel like they did a good job, you know, raising me. Um, but I love you too, mommy. You're so sweet. I love you too. But yeah, so like it just was what it was, you know? It's like I think when it comes to like parenting, I think people don't realize, at least in the communities that I see, you know, and I am surrounded a lot more by the Black community, you know, so I do have more of that perspective when it comes to it. But it does seem like parents, and me included, you know, I've gone through this in myself, where it's like you feel like you have to give your kids a hard time. You have to give them a hard life because it's like, okay, if I don't do it, then the streets are going to do it. If I don't do it, then the police are going to do it. You know, if I don't do it, then their friends are, you know, it like, it's just so many reasons that people, you know, parents sometimes validate not raising their kids, you know, in the best way, you know, or making things intentionally hard for them, with the thought process that you're going to make them stronger. But see, if you have that thought process, then you also have to give some thought to, or some consideration to, well, what if I didn't do that? What if I talk to my children? What if I discipline with love? Because I don't necessarily feel like not disciplining your children in a physical sense, you know, is the right way. You know, I don't necessarily feel like kids don't need to get popped ever, you know. You know, I popped my sons upside the head, you know. Um I don't believe that that's the case, you know. I just believe that kids know the difference between disciplining in love and disciplining in hate. Now I'm gonna tell you this. My mother, like I had issues like you guys. I used to wet the bed. I mean, up until like it was just a ridiculous age, you know what I'm saying? And I used like, and I couldn't even help it. But I know parents who will beat their kids for that. Well, I don't know them because I don't associate myself with people like that, but I know of people who have beat their kids for that. And that's something that we really sometimes believe, that we can beat our kids into being who we want them to be. That we can beat them into being smarter, beat them into being able to count better. You know what I'm saying? Beat them into knowing the senses between like their bladder and their brain, you know? And sometimes that junk just isn't, it's just not connected. It's not connected with kids. They're kids. But we just feel like, well, we just gotta beat them into this way of being. Because if we don't beat them, then the world is gonna beat them. You're the world. You're the one that's beating them. And so I think we have to get into this space of like really realizing that we are raising people. We are raising human beings, entrusted to raise human beings. And so when we think about it like that, it's like, man, your mission is great. Your mission is great as a parent. How much more important is your mission? I mean, is a mission period than parenting. It just gets no more important than that. And if you cannot take care of the life that was entrusted to you, that God literally just handed you, how are you trying to do anything outside of your home? Thank you, Jolanda. Thank you so much. How? How are you trying to do anything outside of the home? There's just no one more important. My kids are the ones that carry on this legacy of who I am, of where we come from, of how even beyond me. And the truth of the matter is, some people are raising kids that are going to hate them one day. They're going to hate you, and they're not going to want to have anything to do with you. They're not going to take care of you when you get old. They're not going to send you no money. And I know some people who were blessed, like, oh my God, thank God that the virus happened. Because then that put distance between them and toxicity. Can you imagine being thankful that a global pandemic happened just so you didn't have to be around your toxic family member? Like, think about that. Think about that. But that's what we've gotten to. Like, that's where this is going. We are raising kids that are going to hate us. They're going to hate us, and they're going to hate everybody else too. Because they're going to hate everybody who even saw anything, who saw anything, heard anything, and didn't say anything. Right, Kelly, sad but true. And then here we are, we keep thinking, okay, well, we still got to exert this level of control. Well, I'm the parent, you know? And to see my son, right? The other day, my youngest son, he's 16. And I said to him, I was like, well, you're always going to be my baby, you know? And we always say that, you're always going to be my baby. And he was like, well, why can't I just always be your son? Like I don't have to be, continue being a baby. And it was like the light bulb came on. My son just says stuff like, that just makes me really think about parenting, like how I parent him. Cause he was like, why can't I just be your son? And then I thought about it. Because sometimes we have that mindset of, well, you're still my baby. You're still my baby. You're always going to be my baby. And you don't never let your child grow up. And they're like, I'm not a baby, I'm grown. You know what I'm saying? I'm a grown A woman. I'm a grown A man. You know what I'm saying? And your kids are like, look, like you still trying to treat me like, and you still trying to put me in this place of a child. And I'm just not a kid no more. I'm grown. And then when you think about parents who were abusive to their kids and they want to come back like, well, you always be my baby. What? When I was your baby? What were you doing to me? And then you think that I'm gonna get grown and you're gonna still be able to put me back in that place as a baby and you'll still be able to do what you were doing. It's not gonna work that way. And a lot of parents are realizing as their kids get older, like, oh my God, I can't handle them like I did before. I can't treat them like that. I can't just put my hands on them. I can't just talk to them any kind of way. But it should never have been that way. You don't have to wait until your child gets grown before you try to before you want to establish respect and boundaries and love for them. Those things happen early on. They happen from birth. It happens at conception. There is no greater mission. There is no greater purpose for a person's life. If they brought a life into this world, if you have brought a life into this world, that's your mission. That is your purpose. And everything you do needs to be with that purpose in mind, with that purpose, best interest. Thank you, Shamika. Yes, we do most definitely, yes. And we got to start thinking about that. We are raising kids that are going to hate you and everybody else. So ultimately, to answer this question, do I think that my parents did a good job at raising me while I was growing up? There were extremes, but I would say that everything that happened, God worked it out for my good. And that's what he said he'd do. Next question. Okay, I've been on here for 46 minutes. Are y'all okay? Y'all doing all right? Y'all sticking with me? Okay. Thank you, Wilson. Thank you. Okay, so what's the next question here? All right, so what's one thing that you wish people understood about you? Aw, what's one thing I wish people understood about me? Hmm, let's see. I think that I wish people understood that there's levels. There's levels to me. There's levels. And I don't know, like I live like this persona. I feel like it was a persona of the pastor's daughter, you know? Like I don't really feel like I ever really had an identity outside of being the pastor's daughter, you know? Because even when I went away, I still tried to, honor my parents always. That's something that was ingrained. But I just I don't know. I think maybe I just wish people understood that I'm still trying to understand me. Like at the end of the day, there's still a lot of misunderstandings that I have about myself. So, I don't know, maybe that's it. Just to know that, sometimes people don't even understand why they've done things, or why they do things. So understanding me is understanding that sometimes I don't even understand me, you know? And that's just being real. What is your biggest flaw? That's the next question. Ooh. I think my biggest flaw is um I have a touch of low self-esteem. I have moments of where I really lack self-awareness. And those things they show up in my like close relationships, like my my relationships with my son, my relationships with my husband. Um, that's when I think that those flaws like really, really manifest themselves. It's in my personal or in my close relationships, and in my relationship with my husband, because I think they're the ones who really like get the kind of catch the flack from it. Um, and so, sometimes they're kind of pouring more into me, you know, as far as like building me up than they probably should have to. And so, that's a thing. Um, is I just wish I was maybe just a little more confident, you know? Like I feel like I've been like studying. I've been studying and taking this class from Lisa Nichols. It's called Speak for Ultimate Impact and Profit. And I've been really trying to work on how I'm presenting the information in the book, how I'm talking, and well, how I'm speaking and how I'm delivering the message. And I find myself being a little fearful of, like being out there, being on camera, telling my story. Like I told you, like I still hesitate, when it's time to press the record button or the go live button, so I'm working on that. But I'm realizing, and in fact, I had this epiphany today, is that I'm realizing that while I'm waiting to get over my insecurities that um, I perceive to be a problem, that someone else is waiting for the information that I have to help them in their situation. And so I'm realizing now that I'm actually probably standing in the way of someone's healing at this point, because of what God has revealed to me and how I've been able to put the information together to make it make sense, and to help people and empower people to make different decisions and to be aware of, how these narcissistic people, manipulate and control and, and all of that crap, But I'm realizing that my insecurities are, they're kind of like standing in the way of someone else's healing. And I definitely don't want that. And so that's given me a whole lot more drive to, study more and to practice more, which means that I have to get on camera more, because there's nothing like doing it than doing it. It's just like you just gotta do it. You just gotta press record and just, get out there. And so, I make my notes and, try to mitigate some of those other things that, may interfere with me being able to deliver the message. But other than that, I'm ready to just step out of the way, honestly. I'm ready to really just, kick those fears in the face and just realize that it's not even about me at this point, that it's about someone else who is sitting there waiting for me to deliver this information so that they can be helped in, so that they can be set free. So, I'm getting over it. Thank y'all. Thank y'all so much. Y'all should see all the little hearts popping up. That's so sweet. Okay. What event in your life has shaped you most as a person and how did it do so? So you guys have heard me talk about the first memory of my father physically abusing me was when I was about 5 years old, and he slammed my leg in the car door. And what happened was what I remember was that my father was tickling me, and as he was tickling me, he was beginning to pinch and scratch at me. Um, and I did a video about this on YouTube that's it's really actually resonated with a lot of people because it's gotten a lot of views. But sometimes people use tickling as a form of torture. And so I could never really understand why my father would tickle us, but he would start pinching and scratching. And it just was like how, why, like, why are you doing that? Why does it hurt when it's supposed to tickle? You know what I mean? But he was doing it on purpose. When he was doing it, I said, stop. I was like, this hurts, Um, but he began to get agitated and he got angry with me. And so he pulled my leg out of the car door and he slammed my leg in the car door. And that was the most, like, that was the very first event. That's the event that really shaped my life, because I feel like that's the moment that I really realized how evil my father was. Um, because like I said, I know that, your kids are your kids, whether it be male or female, but I'm my father's only daughter. And so when I think about a man, um, having a little girl, I just think that, and I've seen this, before. Of course, I didn't experience this, not on a genuine level, but I've seen fathers who take so much pride in their daughters and they love them, and it's just like they dote on them. And my father did a lot of those things too. But like I said, it was all for an ulterior motive. It was something in there. It was something that was going to be self-serving to him. So, but this time, I couldn't fathom how a man, a father, could harm his daughter in that way. I couldn't fathom how he could take a moment of, what I'm saying, he's tickling me, like he's actually physically touching me. And how do you physically touch your daughter in a way that is hurtful and harmful and painful? And then when she tells you that it hurts, as I did, you follow it up with more pain. You follow it up with more rage. And I realized in that moment, this man is evil. Like, this man is evil. I just, I didn't have any daughters, you know? And I always felt like, dang, like, why couldn't I have a daughter? I felt like I would have been a good parent to a daughter. Like, I'm good to my sons, but I don't know. I just always felt like, how could anyone hurt their little girl? And it just, I don't know, I still can't even fathom it? And here I am on my 41st birthday, and it still bothers me. And people think that you just grow up and you just get over it. Like, you have your own family, you have your own kids, and you just get over it, you just grow. But you don't. You just get distracted. But you don't grow out of it. Life just distracts you. You have to pay bills, then you end up having your own kids, and then you're trying to figure out how to do what was never done right by you. I know that what I'm doing here is going to challenge you. It's going to make you uncomfortable. It's going to challenge the way you look at survivors. It's going to challenge the way you treat survivors. And it's going to challenge the way you treat your children. It's going to challenge the way that you've moved about in the church, what you've believed, and how it has hurt or harmed people. But this is a life that we live. Like, this is real, real life. And here it is, like it's my birthday, right? And I'm 41 years old. And I'm a 41-year-old little girl who's talking about her daddy. But that's the realness of it. That's the realness of what we all are experiencing, what we all are going through, to some extent or another. Whether we have been in a church or in our homes or in our neighbors' homes, we've all seen it. And we all probably knew about it, and we probably passed it off or minimized it or gaslit the person or just told them to just move on, to forgive, to go get therapy and just get over it. I've been in therapy since 2012. I can do you one better. My father's in therapy. And and so what? We still got to do something about this. So, it's my birthday, and I am making a commitment to do something about this. And I'm asking everyone who believes that something needs to be done about this to subscribe to my YouTube page, Delores, the pastor's daughter, on YouTube. That is the first step in doing something about this. That's the first step. So, I think I better get off of here. Do y'all have any questions or comments, concerns? I want to, Kelly says, you are not alone. And to God be the glory that you are still in your right mind, Dolores. You are helping me stay strong. Thank you so much. Thank you, Kelly. I appreciate that. So I was thinking about this song. And it's a song that I think I want to just like make like my I don't know, kind of like my theme song of my channel. And I don't know, maybe it'll change, but right now it's the song that just means so much to me right now. And it's probably not gonna sound good, just to warn y'all. But I'm gonna sing a little bit of it. Um, I need you, you need me. We're all a part of God's body. Stand with me, agree with me. We're all a part of God's body. It is His will that every need be supplied. You are important to me. I need you to survive. Thank you guys. I love y'all. And happy birthday to me. Hey. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube page. It's Dolores, the pastor's daughter, on YouTube. Thank you. Thank you guys. Thank y'all. Thank y'all so much. Thank you. Bye bye for now.